Today we're talking about chapters 27 and 28, the season 3 premiere, Everything is Bonzer. Directed by Dean Holland, written by Jen Statsky, including guest cast Andrew Bering, Dominic Burgess, Matthew Foster, Keston John, Mike O'Malley, Lysandra Tina, Jamie Williamson, Harvey Guillen, Josh Siegel, Eugene Cordero, and Adam Scott. Michael goes to Earth to save the 4 humans from their various accidental deaths. We see the last year in each of their lives between their near death and Michael illegally giving them a second nudge. Chidi asks a neuroscience professor, Simone, to study his brain and agrees to help Eleanor become a better person. Eleanor inspires Chidi to start a cross-departmental study on the effects of near-death experiences on ethical decision-making. Tahani's near miss with her sister's statue causes her to travel to a Tibetan monastery to shed her desire for attention. She backslides, writing a book about the trip and creating a lifestyle brand, until Michael shows up as a hippie investor who loves her scam, which prompts Tahani to accept Chidi's invitation for his study. Michael saves Jason from the safe, inspiring Jason to attempt a series of dance competitions with his 60-person dance crew. He ultimately goes back to a life of petty crime until Michael poses as a talent scout and nudges Jason to join the study. Meanwhile, in the bad place, Sean and his demons hack the judge's system to see if the humans are getting better, and they realize Michael has also been cheating. Just when Michael and Janet think they've gotten the 4 together without the judge catching them, they realize that a demon, Trevor, has infiltrated the group. My guests today are co-writer of the episode Jen Statsky and Jameela Jamil, who plays Tahani. Jameela and Jen, welcome. Everything is Bonzer?
Hi.
Well done. That was quite a read.
Thank you.
Do you
Really
need to lie
impressive.
down? You're right. You need a hug?
I need a little break. Let's talk about general things to begin.
Sure.
First of all, did you have this experience? I had this experience. I missed these people.
Yeah. No.
Did you feel that at all?
Yeah, I felt very emotional watching it again.
Yeah.
I watched it on the way over and felt real
You watch it while you were
sadness.
driving.
Yeah.
You had it on your
yeah.
dashboard.
Yeah.
One eye on the road. One eye on
Take
the
that,
I
Waze.
live on the edge, people. I was being driven, obviously.
I love how you do stuff like that, and you still insist. Anytime I bring up, like, not a lot of blue sky between Tahani and Jameela, you're like, how dare you?
No, I don't mind. How dare I? I just think if I haven't brushed my teeth in like 2 days. I feel like there's just like, don't look, but it's bad. I don't bathe regularly.
You
I'm
can't say
uncouth.
that and then say don't
I'm
look, right? I mean,
disgusting.
that's an invitation.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a
And
tough.
so, I aspire to actually be more like Tahani because I feel like it would be a more hygienic and healthy life.
Mhm.
So-
Anyway, these characters, you missed them?
Yeah, I miss these characters. I'm so glad I talked about brushing my teeth. I really did. And also, this season, we are much more separated, especially in this episode. So there's so much that I didn't get to see.
Right. I was
And
gonna
so
ask
it
you
really
about
felt like I was just watching it as a fan. And I was giggling and clapping. And
Yeah.
I had my hands like clasped around my mouth. Is that right word? Yeah, that's fine. And it was just a very emotional experience. I feel so proud of this season. I'm so excited for everyone to see it.
I can't imagine how fans of the show that don't work on it must
Sure.
feel, because I missed them, and I've read lots of these scripts, and
Totally.
I've been on set for lots of it. We wrapped a month and a half ago, something
Yeah.
like not that long
End of
ago.
July.
But watching this episode, I legitimately find myself thrilled to find out what happens with these folks and get back to it.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you say that because I was on. I mean, obviously I wrote it, but I was also on set, so seeing stuff shot. But then, yeah, you guys were kind of siphoned off. You know,
So
you're very much
abstract.
so on your own story. You have like a scene with Ted, but so all the other people, you didn't really get to see what was happening with them. So yeah, that's kind of cool that as a fan, you were like, oh wow, Jason's doing an insane dance. What
Even
is-
having read the scripts, you want to see which takes that they
Totally,
used and
yeah.
how it turned out. I can remember being in a table read about halfway through season 2, and Morgan Sackett, the executive producer, one of the executive producers, had his sort of Mona Lisa smile. This one was particularly wry, and I was like, what's up? And he said, do you want me to tell you? And I said, yes. And he said, if there's a season 3, it happens on Earth. When did you guys begin discussing that? How did that come up?
Man, that's a great question. We definitely knew, again, like Morgan saying it then, we knew pretty early on like when we were trying to figure out season 2, where we were going to go and what was going to happen, at some point very early on in talking about season 2, the idea of going back to Earth came up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember specifically one day Mike being like, I'm so excited about them going back to Earth. I just want to get to that. Like, we knew that was kind of at the end of the runway, and there was still obviously so much to deal with in season 2. But we definitely pretty early on had that morsel of an idea of like, wait, what if they went back?
Right.
And so it's been in the works for a long time. So it's very satisfying to see it finally happen.
Jameela, when was it first presented to you?
I've only actually just found out today.
Oh, gosh.
The whole time I didn't
Terrible.
understand
You're
what
not
was
really paying
going
attention
on.
to the scripts, are you?
I think we found out just before. I think there was a muttering of it the year before, but really about 3 weeks before we turned up to start filming, Mike sat each of us down and broke down the whole kind of, in a 2-hour speech that he gave individually to all of us.
Right.
He broke down the entire season. So this time it was the exact opposite of season 1, where we weren't told anything, including our names, our characters, whether or not we would be fully nude for the whole season. Nobody knew.
Were you disappointed?
I was so sad. Because, I just, as you know, I just big on getting this body out. Season 3, we knew exactly what was going to happen. It was really, really exciting and such a new experience to be out and about in the world.
Now, in order to record this podcast today, the episode doesn't drop until the 27th, so we're about 2 weeks before that. In previous seasons, have you ever had advanced screeners of the episodes, or do you watch them on television like a normal human?
No, I watch them on television. Sometimes I think that we're giving them a couple of hours before the episode runs so that we know how to live tweet along, so we know what's coming.
Okay.
But I don't like to do that, so I just watch it with everyone else.
That's
in fact,
so
season 1
interesting.
I didn't watch at all. It
Really?
took me, yeah, not until the very, very, very end. So I would just read other people's tweets and about what they were talking about and sort of copy and paste those onto my own Twitter because I was just mortified.
Were you not watching because you were like, I can't watch myself?
No, yeah, I can't watch myself destroy Mike Schur's comedy. And then when I heard it had gone okay and I hadn't been fired, I then watched season 1 just before season 2.
Jen, were there any changes in the writer's room between these seasons?
Yes, between season 2 and 3, yes, we added a couple people. We added Cassia, writer-wise, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. We added a really great writer named Cassia Miller. She had been on Last Man on Earth.
Oh, great.
Great show. And also, like, really cool in that both, I think something we shared with Last Man on Earth, it's unfortunately not on the air anymore, is like kind of like a show, a comedy, a network comedy that is a cliffhanger show.
Yeah.
Like, really plot and story is such a big part of the DNA of both of those shows. So Cassie is great. She's super funny and smart and great. And then a stand-up named Ray Sani. She came, from the stand-up world. She had written on The President Show back in New York.
Oh, great, yeah.
Which is great. And so, this was, I think, our biggest writer's room year. I think we had like 13 or 14 people. I remember you coming up and just being mortified at how many disgusting writer bodies were crammed into a small room.
That is not the nature of my disgust.
I read your face. I know what it was.
No, it was...
Do you have resting disgust face?
I have resting I'm not welcome in this room face. That's how I enter.
Are you English?
I'm
Such
Scottish.
an English trait.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's what you were reading.
Okay,
not
got
that
it.
there were so many.
Got it.
And I felt like I was interrupting because Mike was like, "Oh, here's Mark. Let me briefly tell him what we have until episode 11 of season 3."
Right, yeah.
So it was simultaneously a ton of information, and also I felt like I was not invited to this dinner. And
You're always invited. You're
and
always
they're not going to
invited. Both of you.
eat the soup
always
until
invited.
I do it. Let's get into the episode a little bit. We open on this mysterious, weird bridge, the outskirt of the nether realms of the afterlife, and there is a doorman played by Mike O'Malley.
The Doorman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This show is, as we've said, the smartest, dumbest show. And to give such high stakes to a key made with the very first atoms created in the universe, and it can't be duplicated, and then to make it so mundane that it's printed on the key like we've all seen every day.
Yep,
Do not duplicate.
Yep.
Do you remember whose joke that was?
Oh my gosh. I believe Do Not Duplicate was Mike's joke.
Okay.
And then I'm pretty sure the frog keychain was Matt Murray's joke, I
Okay.
want to say. Though that that is what I'm remembering, and if I'm wrong, I'll have an angry Joe Mandy texting me.
We
when
are
this episode
at a weird impasse. This is the first place in this new generation of The Good Place, the podcast, where I want to ask about the significance of frogs, and I don't want to ask about the significance of frogs. Like
right.
if it
pays
if
off
it gets
or
a
not.
Callback, yeah. So
I won't say anything. All I'll say is just enjoy the frog joke for being a
For what
frog
it is.
joke in this
However
episode.
long it may last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Live in the moment.
Sorry.
No, go
on.
ahead.
I was just going to say I was so starstruck when I saw Mike O'Malley.
is that right?
Yeah, fully starstruck. I love him. We get the best guest stars on
forget
this
it.
show.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's too much. I don't even know how I recovered from season 2 with Maya Rudolph. I don't know how I made it through.
I know, it's still a kind of a dream, right?
Yeah,
It's
I was
crazy.
sure I'd be murdered shortly
Yeah.
afterwards. I was like, this is it. I've peaked, and now it's over. And
And
goodbye.
he does such an amazing job of this episode of being so low,
So flat. Yeah.
And we knew, because that was the direction Dean gave him for sure. And when we wrote it, that's the intention. Like, be as flat as you can, because then that's going to make the frog joke pay off so much funnier. And he did such a great job with it.
this show is super nonlinear anyway. We go back and forth in time. We go back and forth in reality and what's canon, what's happened. In one sense, this episode is no different. In another sense, it's different in the sense that we jump around. We go back in time to their first times on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
We revisit their near-death experiences. Certainly, you didn't restage the statue scene with Camilla, right? That was something that you shot how long ago?
We shot that season 2, episode 4 is Team Cockroach. That's the episode we learn about Tahani's death. And at that point, we were already kind of figuring out this thing of going back to Earth. And so we knew then that we should also shoot Ted as in disguise saving her.
Ted as Carl.
Carl.
Yeah. Is the same true of Jason? Did you restage the safe scene?
But yes, so with Chidi and Jason, those were shot. But season 1, we find out how Chidi died, and we also find out how Jason died. So in season 1 writing, we had not come up with this idea yet. Tahani was kind of the only character we saved till season 2 to reveal how she died, and so Jason and Chidi, we both had to go back and reshoot the scene on the sidewalk where Chidi is arguing with his friend, and then or trying to decide on what bar to go to. Excuse me, not arguing. And then the air conditioner, he gets crushed, or in this version, gets pushed out of the way.
Yeah.
And then Jason, yes, we also had to go back to the Mexican restaurant and shoot in the parking lot.
So those things were restaged.
Those things were restaged for the shooting this episode. The only death-saving thing we didn't have to restage was Tahani's.
Because the brilliance of you guys and Mike knew a year ago that you were going to maybe need that,
Right.
might need that.
It wasn't explained to me why we were doing it. I wasn't told. I was completely kept in the dark.
But imagine how brilliant we'd seem if we had known season 1 and we hadn't had to reshoot any of the Chidi and Jason stuff.
But I think it's credit to you guys that you write this not having a clean, blueprint of everything that's going to happen.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we did.
Yeah.
It might be easier.
Much less stressful.
It'd be
yeah.
much less scary, yeah.
It's daunting to talk about this season 3 premiere because it's almost a series premiere. I mean, it's we're learning, we're
Totally.
meeting these people all over again. I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't point out the banner on a blueberry muffin cart, "We come from a land down under."
Sure.
Is that who I think it is?
What is crazy is it actually isn't Megan.
Really?
Wow.
It isn't Megan. It's
So it's catching.
yeah, the
beautiful.
disease is spreading.
No. Are we safe?
No one's safe. Yeah, it's actually Cord Jefferson.
Was it Cord?
It was Cord. It was there. Ian Phillips came in one day and was like, "We need a signage for the muffin cart," and so we were all pitching. And obviously, when this happens, we all go, "Well, Megan's got it. She'll handle this."
She's been
And
born.
I think we were all pitching, and then we actually ended up going with one of Cord's. But
was Megan okay when that happened?
she's furious. She's gonna ruin Cord.
she's already going through
Cord's
so
in
much.
trouble. Yeah,
She's going through enough love right
yeah,
now.
losing 2 Emmys. Cord gets a pun in the show. It's a nightmare for Megan.
Jameela, you did an international sophisticate 582 questions kind of thing.
My favourite play on the Vogue,
That's
73,000
great.
questions or whatever
Yes.
they do.
Is the number 582 significant in the numerology of this show?
I'm okay with saying that I think is just a joke.
Okay. It's just an excessive number.
Yes,
It's
yes. So
it's
we in the
exaggeration.
writers' room became, as Jameela says, those Vogue 72 questions. We became, is it 72 or 73?
Oh God, I don't know.
Doesn't matter. I've now 582s in my brain, but we became obsessed with watching these celebrity. Have you seen them?
I've seen a couple, and they're so staged that they make me
yes.
furious.
So in the
They're
writers'
the
room,
opposite of candid.
yes, it's so funny, and the fake trying to pretend it's off the cuff and
Right.
candid.
Kills me. Yeah.
It's
Kills
so
me dead.
mortifying.
Yeah, but I can't stop watching.
Oh,
I cannot
they're-
look away from the
They're
accident.
addictive. So
Yeah.
we were like, oh yes, please, we have to do this with Tahani. It's so Tahani, and it turned out awesome.
We haven't yet spoken about the monastery.
Right.
Are we going to get onto that?
We are.
Should we talk about it later when you were going to talk about it? Or should we now talk about it?
I guess later. I don't know. I want to
Okay.
talk, first of all,
No,
about
fine. Let's keep
getting
talking about-
there.
Yeah.
This might be the purest distillation of a Tahani name drop, though, because it's a misdirect where they say, who is the most famous person in your phone? And you sort of deflect and say, it's not about that.
Yeah.
The Dalai Lama texted me that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
Yeah.
the perfectest version.
It really is such a perfect Tahani joke because it's like she's trying so, and especially with where she goes with this, the whole get out of the spotlight.
Yeah.
She's trying so hard to pretend to be earnest and above it all, but she's not at all.
No.
She can't do it.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, she is
A
who she is.
douchebag. Yes.
Bleep that.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. There's so much in this episode. I love that that Jason proposes to the police officer and calls her Kay because her name, I think the name tag says Kay Ramirez. And he inadvertently confesses. But then we see, throughout this episode, we find Michael and Janet monitoring the ticker tapes of what's happening back on Earth, and it's not going well. This is a very interesting Janet, though. It's a new Janet. It's a very human Janet.
Yeah.
It's the humanist Janet, I think, that we've seen today.
It's kind of mothering Michael.
Right.
Yeah.
At the beginning of
Yeah,
this episode.
yeah.
I really enjoyed their dynamic shift because it's always felt like he was her dad and her baby. And despite the dialogue that then occurred, her mannerisms with him and her general way is she's looking after him, which I think is a really
right,
nice...
and he's trying to push the envelope and keep cheating, and she's really trying to rein him in. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, just always with Janet across the 3 seasons, it's just she's getting more and more, human as we go, and so pretty much every episode, unless it's a flashback, Janet's more human than ever when you see her.
There's even a little bit of fear there. Like she's going, now, Michael, don't forget the judge. Who's the judge? Like there are stakes to Janet.
Yeah.
Janet didn't have stakes before.
Exactly. She's internalizing like now his goal and the group's goal is her goal too,
Yeah.
which is really cool because that, again, like you said, that's not where she started from, and now she's part of the team.
We flash back. Michael is going to nudge these people. So we flash back to season 2. We see Eleanor in the bar, and then we, follow her to Chidi's office in Australia. You've written the joke that the 2 biggest exports from Arizona are racist sheriffs and HPV.
That's right.
Are
yeah.
those the meanest jokes you wrote, or were there worse ones that you decided not to use?
I think that those I would say meanest, but also there's truth to them, right?
Okay.
They don't ring false when you hear it, right? You're like,
Oh, no, I
yeah.
think everybody knows. I think Joe Arpaio knows.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I'm sure he's a huge fan of the show.
We get a little bit of explanation about Chidi's languages
Yes.
and accent.
Yeah.
Is there more of that coming, I feel like Mike has said? Or is this the...
This is kind of...
Okay.
I think this is kind of our
I'm not
main...
trying to trap you. I just...
This was kind of... It was something we were aware of that in the pilot, he says... Of the pilot of the show, he says, I'm speaking, what you're hearing is English, but I'm actually speaking French.
French, right.
And so we always knew going forward that that was a loose end to tie up. And so this was kind of our way of explaining what the deal is with that. And then Eleanor, of course, has a very Eleanor response to it.
We learned that zonkatronic is Chloe's word for crazy. Is bonzer a Kardashian word? Or that's like an Aussie
No,
word,
that's
right?
an Aussie word. That's an Aussie word, which kind of colloquially means like good, great, so it's...
I think about it in terms of like
Awesome.
waves, like good waves,
like,
surfing.
like a bonzer, like you
Yeah.
you got a bonzer wave.
I think so.
Okay.
Why do the writers know what the Kardashians' words are?
That I got to be honest, that's actually just a joke. That's not actually a Kardashian word.
Oh, is that true?
Yes, that is
Interesting.
just.
Because she knows the actual...
I was gonna
Kardashian.
say, she knows the canon.
I will say I wrote this whole Kardashian joke because I have a pretty extensive Kardashian knowledge, and
Do you?
yes, and this is not part of their canon.
Eleanor says GIF for GIF in there.
This was
that
a whole.
a topic?
This was a whole discussion in the writers' room. I'm
has to
so
have been.
glad you brought it up.
I
So,
found it really jarring.
Yeah, I
And
did too.
couldn't,
I
couldn't
played it
even
back a couple
hear-
times.
I couldn't hear anything else. that
So
was said
we
for
had a
couple of
very
seconds
heated
afterwards.
debate in the writers' room because a lot of, like, I remember, I think Corda was like, no, it's GIF. It's GIF. But Mike was firm on this, and I agreed that the creator of the GIF is like, no, it's GIF.
Right.
So I kind of, and I agree with Mike, have gone with, we're like, well, he created it.
It's
It's
his,
GIF.
yeah.
But so you guys say GIF.
I say GIF,
I say GIF.
Interesting. I say GIF.
but I
Okay.
also say aluminium. So
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
What do
yeah,
I
yeah.
know?
We
So
can't,
weird.
we can't go
Yeah.
by that. So weird and charming.
It's very charming. So Chidi, we see his life. We see, first of all, it was very charming to see Ted riding a bike and,
Oh, yeah.
and trying to yell
Yes.
at the same time because it was 90% solid and there was just a little bit of like acting while riding a bike.
Totally.
Like there's a
totally.
little bit
Yes.
of,
Yeah.
that was kind of great and fun to see.
Yeah.
Chidi's still Chidi. You know, like we haven't gone back in time. I mean, we've gone back in time, but it's a different timeline. I don't know how any of you keep this straight. But his takeaway is that he, shouldn't be more decisive. It's that he shouldn't use Freon and air
Yeah,
conditioning because it's
yeah.
bad for the environment. His friend tells him that his brain is broken. And I do love that in this revisited timeline, he's still working on that tome, that 3,600 page thesis.
Yep. You're basically going back as if he had, like, you see, he had never been crushed by that air conditioner. So he's still the old Chidi, hasn't made any of the progress or gotten out of his insane brain.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's still typing away on 3,000 page thesis.
And he's still Chidi in the sense that he can't choose a chair when he's talking to Simone, played by
Yep.
Kirby Howell-Baptiste.
that opening shot where he's sitting there straddling each buttock on an armchair of each chair was unbelievable. I laughed so much when I saw that.
That's joke enough, right? But
Yeah.
then you have him move to the one at left, and in the middle of his own dialogue, he
Yeah.
goes, nope.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, and that was a Dean pitch on set, and it was such a funny, smart addition that, yeah, he was like, can you just not even break stride with the line? Can you sit down and then be like, nope, and
But
move
nope.
to the next one? And
Will's
Will
execution of that is-
Will nailed it so
Perfect.
oh,
perfectly.
good heavens. So his brain is broken. They're going to put him in an MRI. Let's throw to a clip.
Okay, I'm all set.
I'm just going to ask you some basic questions, Chidi. What is 1 + 1?
2.
What colour is the sky?
Blue.
What color are Simone's eyes?
Brown. What?
If you could take Simone anywhere on a date, where would you take her?
Sorry, is this part of the experiment?
It is now. Yes, please answer the question. And keep in mind we can see your brain.
Next question. You are into Simone.
That's not a question.
So you agree. It's a fact. Next question's for Simone. Simone, are you annoyed at Chidi for waiting so long to ask you out?
Yes, I am.
Chidi, same question for you. Are you annoyed at yourself for waiting so long to ask out Simone? I mean, I'm annoyed with you, and I've only known you 3 weeks.
Yes, I am obviously very annoyed with myself. Can I get out now?
No, you can't. It'll ruin the science. There's only one question left, and you gotta ask it, bud.
Simone, would you like to have dinner with me?
Wow, that is highly inappropriate. I'm just kidding. Yes, I would. Thank you for asking.
No, you can't. It'll ruin the science. Jen, that's world-class rom-com.
It's very rom-com. Yeah.
But I mean, it's perfect.
Well, thank you. It's very, I mean, it's all Kristen and Kirby, and Will do such a good job in that scene. And it's what's crazy is this scene and kind of this storyline where Eleanor pushes Chidi towards Simone wasn't really in our, I believe when we outlined and kind of broke the episodes, that wasn't really part of it. There was an earlier version of this episode where when we checked in with Chidi and he has his kind of epiphany, your brain is broken, etc. He and the Simone and Chidi relationship kind of like that was, he did that on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And then in rewriting and rebreaking and talking about the episode, like the premiere, you know, I think every episode in various forms goes through a lot of rewriting and rebreaking and talking about it, and every episode is different. But we definitely, this episode, because it's the premiere, because we had so much to catch up with, we're working on it a really long time, and that kind of developed. We changed the story to have it be more of an Eleanor Chidi story where she is the one who pushes him to ask her out. And it just, yeah, I love that scene is my favorite scene, I think, in this episode. And I'm so glad we kept working on it because we wouldn't have gotten it.
I love that scene.
It's
but
great.
I also, I didn't like seeing Eleanor push.
I know.
I felt I'd like it was fine in the read through because it all feels very abstract, but when I saw it, I felt angry. And I felt disappointed. I wanted to break stuff because I just didn't feel right. I didn't like it. It was very well performed and executed. I can understand why it's happening, but I feel territorial of them as a couple.
Yeah.
I've become like a real psycho fan of the show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's real. And I think that when you look at this episode, there's a moment, and I think some of it might be a little bit of Kristen Bell knowing the previous seasons of the show, but it's definitely Eleanor just being territorial. When they're walking down the park, the sidewalk in the park or what have you, and Simone comes up, at first there's a little bit of like, oh, hold up, like, who's this? And then she softens and goes, hey, dork, she's into you. You guys should get together. I promise I won't get you together. Cut to.
Totally.
So you're into
Chidi, right? Yeah. Yeah.
But you can feel a little, I don't know, a hint, a whisper, an echo of a past life of her going, I'm jealous of this person and I don't know why yet.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we were really in writing it. One thing we were very cautious of was we did not want this to turn into a story of a love triangle of two women fighting over a guy.
Because why, right?
Because why? Because I think it's been done. Pretty sure.
I don't know. Has it?
I don't think so, actually.
Yeah.
But that was also avoided in season 1 between Tahani
Totally.
and
Exactly.
Eleanor.
Exactly.
Mike and the writers they all veer away from the cliche.
Yeah. One of and I think you would maybe agree. For me, as a woman who has other female friends, I'm like, no, my girlfriends and I, we're not fighting over men. It just doesn't happen.
Then
Sorry.
you're doing it wrong.
I know your experience is different, Mark. But it's interesting. I think, of course, there is always this supernatural element to our show, which is like, oh, these people's brains have been erased, but is there any, we know what they've been through. But it was important to us, and Kristen really nailed it and got it right away, that she should play this. She's Chidi's friend, and she's genuinely helping him. And even though she's only known him 3 weeks, Eleanor has no boundaries with people, so she's going to do that. So I think it's interesting for us. I really, and Mike agreed, and everyone agreed that we didn't want it to feel like any kind of two women fighting over a guy, basically.
Right. And you address it so well because in the next scene, I think, Janet and Michael, there's concern that now there's this jam car of a third party and that they're not going to get together. And I think it's Janet that says there were plenty of reboots where Chidi and Eleanor weren't soulmates, and he still agreed to help her, which of course he does in this, given the nudge from Michael. You have Janet calling the judge mommy, which is, it feels a little inside writer's room maybe, and also trying on Michael as dad.
Yeah, I mean, it's still just Janet, I think, evolving and being like, oh yeah, relationships. People have moms and dads. Who's my mom? Who's my dad?
And I feel like as a reminder of the timeline of the previous 2 seasons, we do see Sean and company in the Situation Room.
Yep.
Going back to things. The song that made it, when I say put something on that's deeply terrible, to put us in the mood, you played Richard Marx's Right Here Waiting for You. I've forgotten what song you played on set that broke me completely. Do you remember that?
God, what song was it? I'm trying to
Dean
remember
thought it might be
too.
Blues Traveler. Something.
Oh, it was Run Around by Blues Traveler.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it's okay to say this. Basically,
how does that song go?
Oh, I'm not going to sing it. Mark?
I played it in the car on the way here, and I don't...
Do you remember Blues? Do you remember Blues Traveler?
No. I'm
Harmonica.
only 15 years old.
Right. Your great grandmother remembers Blues Traveler. Basically what it is when they have to clear these songs for the episodes.
Right.
The person giving the rights to the song has to be okay with saying, hey, is it cool to say this is a song literal demons use to psych themselves up because it's so bad?
Same thing with Puddle of Mud and Grandma Got Run Over by a Ranger.
Exactly.
Right?
So I think that we're always dealing with what's funny and also who's going to be down for the joke. And I think from what I've heard, Richard Marx is a very funny, gets comedy, and is totally down for his music to be made fun of, which is cool.
Sean goes on a bit of a cocooning spree, and others join, I suppose, Vicky, wherever she is, somewhere in a cocoon. I do love that you have Chidi thanking Eleanor for bullying him into asking out Simone, kind of thing. Like that seems like a really baseline dynamic for those two.
It's totally a baseline dynamic. Eleanor is Jameela is upset. She's upset about it. Yeah, Eleanor, but she's all action. Chidi's obviously his greatest flaw is that he overthought everything and never took action. And Eleanor is such a all right, man, let's do this. What's the plan? And so they make each other great in that way. And unfortunately, she's made him great in a way that is, or fortunately, however you want to look at it. I'm looking at Jameela, who's devastated by this couple being broken up.
Yeah.
Don't look at me. Don't fucking look
No,
at
but
me.
it's so interesting to hear you say that because, like, we all writing it, we're like, wow, how are people? I'm very protective of the Eleanor Chidi relationship. Like I love them together. So it's interesting, like people's reaction to this premiere. I'm really interested in how they're going to feel about it.
Am I wrong in saying that, apart from obviously like towards the end, I guess, of season 2, this is palpably the warmest I've seen Eleanor so far? She's the most like she feels like she's still pushy, but she's warm and affectionate and doing something for other people. Like she's a giver.
Yeah, this is the first time you've seen her not like a cage, like with her back against the wall. Season 1, season 2.
Like a caged
I was
animal.
going to say like a caged animal, and then I was like, that's not exactly the right metaphor. Let me try something else. But, she, in season 1, she's so scared she's going to get caught.
Her antenna is that she's going to get screwed.
Exactly. So all her instincts are saying, fight, 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 self-preserve, self-preserve. So I think, she's suspicious of Tahani when she first meets her. And that was something that was really cool for us to explore in them being on Earth.
This one's totally different,
Yeah,
right?
totally different.
They meet in different circumstances.
Yeah.
Was that weird meeting your character, meeting Kristen's character for the first time when you, the actor, knows that you've been together for several years?
Yeah. And I feel like we played it in slightly different ways on set to kind of see what would work later. We tried a variation. I'm really glad they went with the kind of warm, open.
Yeah.
Take.
And in that first scene when you guys meet, it's immediate. Like, she's like, no, I'm not that into Camilla. And you're super happy. And your reaction of it is so, so funny.
That was so genuine and dear. For real.
But yeah, you guys, she has no reason to feel anything but like, oh, cool. Here's this really interesting British woman who I've never met anyone like before. But she's not worried about getting caught. She doesn't think you think you're better than her. And that's bad in The Good Place. So
also, I'm not the only person in a village that has an English accent.
Exactly.
Choice.
Exactly. So it's really cool I can't think of any other show where you get to explore relationships from so many different angles over and over again with characters. It was very fun to write.
That's also a fun scene to, when we flash back to your near-death, to Tahani's near-death, it's fun to see Tahani out of control going, who was it that saved me? It was a man, I think. They're like, no, it was Camilla. And they're like, no, it was a man, I think.
I love that scene so
That scene
much.
is
I love
great.
the writing of that so much. And then how everyone just starts chanting, Camilla, 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 and how broken I had to look. That was really fun. That was a really fun scene to shoot. And we almost took out Ted in that scene because there's like one of the takes we both missed them at. Almost definitely my fault.
You mean you almost killed real-life actor
Oh my
Emmy
gosh, you
nominated
almost,
Ted
like,
Danson.
So I almost, and
his
he just
knees?
had a knee operation, so we had to be really careful with him. And I think I lack spatial awareness. I'm taking the full
true.
blame for this. I am Bambi on ice, and so I think I missed the crash point, and I think therefore I took him down with me, and just I was like Rose on the Titanic. Like I think I took up the whole crash mat when there was space for two. Rose, there was space for two. And so. Ted landed on the ground. There was like a couple of minutes where we were like, have I re-broken
Oh my God,
Ted
I never heard
Danson's
that.
knee? Yeah, it's very stressful. It's nice to see it all work out.
Tahani decides to find herself again and goes to a Buddhist monastery. Did you want to talk about that?
Yes. I have photographic proof of what I'm about to say.
Oh, interesting.
Right
I wondered
now.
what this was about.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember this.
I just didn't want to forget. So we'll put this out with the episode, but I don't know if
You don't know that.
you can see. We're going to, I run things. Yeah. I'd like to speak to your manager.
Oh, please.
So I am in crutches in this photograph, and Dean Holland is also on crutches.
Oh, that's right.
Because the week before filming, because I've had 2 seasons now where Ted Danson, who is several decades older than me, runs rings around me, and
Sure.
his energy is just like way beyond the whatever I could even contemplate for myself. So I was like, you know what? I'm tired every year and we do these long hours and I'm sick of seeing someone 40 years older than me just run rings around me. I'm tired of it. So I thought I'm going to start taking up sports so I can be more energetic.
Oh,
So
boy.
I decided to try sports for the first time in 20 years, 1 week before filming. that sport was tennis. Tennis seemed no. So why is now I know that everyone's like, oh, you idiot. I thought tennis seemed very civilized. I associated it with champagne and strawberries and cream. It just seemed
Again,
like
nothing like Tahani. Nothing like Tahani.
But I haven't played since I was 12 because when I was 12, I played and I went to swing the racket, and the racket. I just never stopped. You just like stop your arm. But I brought my arm all the way back round and smashed myself in the face and broke my nose. So I never played tennis again for 20 years until a week before the show. Played it, was in a warm-up round with my just unbearably competitive boyfriend. Who, even though James Blunt, who just kept on spinning the ball, and I ended up, because I'm also competitive, tried to meet him and impress him, and just ended up falling over my ankle to the point where, if you're watching this, you can see what my ankle did. It just went way the other way that it was supposed to in nature. Yeah. And I heard it snap from 5 foot 10 inches in the air, like loud. It sounded like a. And I'd snapped like a ligament and damaged it so badly that I could not walk again without some sort of aid for about 2 months. So it was fun for me that the first thing, I had the first day of filming all on my own, and it was all day, and it was up a mountain that I had to keep.
Where were you?
Malibu, I believe. Yeah.
Is that a hill then?
Yeah.
I've exaggerated with the mountain.
No, it was mountainous.
We
were at, the place we shot The Monster was this really interesting property in Malibu that someone owned, and we shot there, and there was a lot of like dirt hills that we were walking up, and Dean Holland, our director, they were on crutches.
Yes.
I made him do everything that I had to do. I was like, if I'm doing this and I'm risking my ankle, you're risking
You made him play
yours.
tennis?
And we had to keep going up and down these different
it was an
hills to different
interesting
parts of the
first day of
location.
season 3 shooting.
Yeah. I was in agony for a couple of weeks. But Tahani is wearing flats in season 3, and that is my bad. And I'm sorry to all of my fashion followers who feel let down by this decision. Shame on me.
Let's listen to another clip.
You should be selling whatever crap you can think of, because these people will buy it.
That is quite enough. And how dare you insinuate that I'm not authentic?
I finished signing your headshots.
Oh, not now.
Miss Al-Jamil, it's okay. You and I are the same. I love what you're doing here. You get to be rich and famous and not have to do any of the work of helping people.
But I am helping people. You need to go. Right now.
Suit yourself. Look, if you change your mind, I'm online. Just Google crystals that prevent erectile dysfunction.
I'm sorry, but Ms. Al-Jamil doesn't have time to participate in an ethical study at some random university. If you want to meet her, you can sign up for the Get Out of the Spotlight cruise with special guests Deepak Chopra and will.i.am.
Hello? This is Tahani Al-Jamil.
Oh, hi. I didn't think I'd actually get you. My name is Chidi Anagonye, and I'm doing an academic study on near-death experiences and ethical decision-making. I read an article about you.
Will it help people? That's all I want to know. Will this help people?
Yes, I think so. I mean, that's the goal.
Send me the info. I'll be there tomorrow morning.
Will it help people? That's all I want to know. Maybe there's no blue sky between Tahani and Jameela, because that sounds like you to me.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and mouthing off on Twitter. It's a sort of combination of the two. I lack Tahani's grace and class when I try to help people. That is a thing that we have learnt about me in my private life.
Also about dental health. That's such a wonderful scene because, she's become this major brand, Tahani has.
Yeah.
And Michael shames her into realizing it, that she's, in the course of trying to be humble and shed fame and things material, she's made a business out of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
That moment where you see her say, and that's why I decided to get out of the spotlight, and we come in and she's on a stage in front of hundreds of people on her book tour. So, so funny. I love the writing of this show so much. This is my favourite season. This is
this season.
My favorite season.
As I said, I can't wait for viewers to see this season.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Special. It's special. I also love that this show is so ambitious. Like, you got an auditorium and lit it and put, 100 extras, 100 background actors into that scene to shoot a 2-second TED Talk.
All of whom had a copy of my book. I have a photograph that I took of all of them holding it out.
Yeah,
so the props department made...
Oh, yeah, props department. They're so amazing. Yeah, every extra had a copy of the book. Yeah. And
yeah. No, I was going to say really pay attention to the book launch that you can see, because there's all these different amazing photo setups that I had to do photo shoots for, of just different takes of me pretending essentially to be Gwyneth Paltrow, which is really fun. And also soz Gwyneth, but it was worth it.
This is because we're doing this so quickly with the tight turnaround, because we're doing these, next to live, near live. I haven't zoomed in on every back of every book of every magazine. I'm sure there are Easter eggy jokes that I haven't gotten on this episode yet.
I forget if there's anything on the actual book jacket. Again, our props department, like Gay and everyone, is so good that I guarantee there are jokes on that. But like when Tahani's giving the TED Talk, there's a quote from I believe it's, I wrote it, I should know. It's basically like, this book is some of the best writing I've ever seen. It's made me decide to quit writing completely. And then the next quote is ditto, Cormac McCarthy.
It did not escape my attention.
I've got the photos here if there's anything, but I'm not sure. You're just going to have to look out for it. It's an unbelievable book cover.
It's really good. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I also like the use of the name Charles Brainman.
Oh my God. Yeah. That is one of, I think, all of the writers, one of our favorite running jokes in this episode is Michael's fake names when he goes and meets everyone. It's so good. Gordon Indigo for you.
Gordon Indigo is my favorite. What a creep.
Charles Brainman. And we're coming up on Zach Pizzazz. So Jason meets Michael on a pier. He's throwing rocks and says, "Are these your rocks? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." And one thing, production design-wise, art department-wise, the pier that Jason's on feels a lot like the bridge that Michael walks out to meet the doorman on.
Ooh,
like the lights are sort of similar, the spacing of the lights.
I love this.
It's got to be deliberate.
Film student read into the...
I don't know. It felt... It
no, you're
struck
right.
a visual chord.
You're right. All I remember from that is that it was so cold that night. That's what I remember. But yes, an artistic reading is that it's kind of a nice bookend to where we start the episode.
You've done another nice misdirect here. Jason's had a rough year. His year started about a year ago. And we see everything that's going wrong in his life, and he says aloud, "I need to change my life." He then sees a poster that says, "Change your life." And he zeroes in on the completely wrong poster, and it's about dance competitions.
Yeah, the swamp stomp.
I mean, it's such a Jason Mendoza.
It's so Jason, yeah.
You've also mentioned the Carmen Electra Auditorium in the Smith & Wesson Performing Arts Center and ATV Repair Shop. Is this a statement on gun violence?
Yeah, you nailed it. It's our statement. I'm glad you read into the subtext of this episode. If you take one thing away from this episode, no, I think we had so many alts, and I think Manny did a bunch of them, and I wish we could have used them all. But it was always Smith & Wesson, but then it was like ATV Repair Shop. I think I pitched him Sex Toy Depot. Just so many stupid Florida jokes that I wish we could do all of them.
Getting to see him dance.
Oh, I was going to.
Manny is such an extraordinary.
It's really, and I really hope that there's some.
Manny Jacinto is a real life hip hop superstar.
Yes,
right?
When we were casting the show, Manny's audition was, I'm sure people have talked about it, so good, so incredible. His take on Jason was so unique and special, and it was like, yes, this has to be Jason.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, we Googled him. We were like, who is this guy? We've never seen him, and so many like hip hop dance videos, and we were like, he's an incredible dancer in addition to being a great actor.
Which is so funny for Jason.
Yes,
That's
it's so perfect
and funny that his brain works
so
beautifully in one way, but doesn't work at all in any of the other important ways.
Totally.
Yeah,
so.
He's incredible. That dance scene was longer. I hope there's a longer
Yes,
cut
I was going to say, I
that.
hope that on NBC or an extended cut or something we see, because they did, Manny and the rest of those guys were in rehearsals for like a whole day and a half before that, learning this dance, and it's pretty intricate. Like, so even what we see is amazing, but there's a longer version that's even.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, he's
It's
great.
so incredible.
They
He's
get.
so
I feel like they get disqualified because they've got 40 people and it was meant to be 8.
Yeah, I think Jason's not a great rule reader.
Sure.
He's not
not
doing
generally a good reader.
Yeah, not a great reader.
Not big on reading.
We meet Donkey Doug. Have we met Donkey Doug before?
We've never met Donkey Doug. We've heard Donkey Doug. I believe Jason had his girlfriend Sheila. He framed her for boogie board theft or something. Right. So Donkey Doug has been mentioned as one of Jason's kind of, other than Pillboy, one of his best friends. But we've never seen him until
We've never seen him till now. He says, you know, you're my boy, but I can't handle it. And he bugs out. Little Peanut also bugs out. And,
and we've mentioned Peanut. So in my mind, Lil Peanut is Peanut's daughter. Yeah.
That's lovely.
A wonderful rapper name.
Yeah, Lil Peanut. Good. Yeah.
We hear about the license plate Got MILF, which is
so lovely.
So Florida.
I would 100%, if I ever learned how to drive, would 100% make that and will make that. I vow on air to make that my number plate.
Yeah. If you're driving around LA, you see Got MILF, you know it's Jameela.
Yeah.
So this plan doesn't work out. They don't win any of these contests. That's how he was going to fund his trip or get his life back on track. We see Pillboy, Eugene Cordero, and Jason sharing a drink at a bar. I was half expecting Michael to show up as Sam Malone again behind that bar to be the Cyrano, to be the the Deus Ex Machina there.
No. What I kind of love about the Jason part of this premiere is that when Michael first comes to him, I think Michael, and we talked about this in the writer's room, and there was also even kind of a scene at one point that got cut, but Michael, I think, is very much so underestimating Jason. He's left him for last. He's like, this will be easy. I can get this guy to Australia. I'm just going to say, hey, dance crew. And then when Jason says no, you see in the scene, and Ted acts it really beautifully, he's taken aback. He's like, the line is like, but you heard my name. I'm Zach Pizzazz. and Michael takes a step back and then really actually listens to Jason and has this nice moment where he connects with him and is like, yeah, I get it. I used to run with a crew who had different values and morals than I did, and then I had to change. And I love that scene because they both did such a great job.
It's a great job. I also loved Jason going like, I guess I could go to Atlantis. It's Australia.
Yes.
He has a giant realization that there might be more to life than amateur street dancing.
Yeah.
I do like that Michael has to cover himself and say that his crew was the Demons, too.
Yeah.
Well, Jason totally knows that group.
Right.
Turns out to be a different group.
They all died when someone brought a hammerhead shark into their hot tub. Yeah. A lot of good Florida stuff in this episode.
Every time we have to, we went to Comic-Con over the summer and we asked if anyone was there from Florida, and I made it a point to apologize to all of them, anyone from Jacksonville.
People, I guess people from Arizona are like, well, we don't have it. Like, fans of the show from Arizona are like, we don't have it as bad as Florida fans.
Also, the French really get it from us in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We see Michael return. He sees the doorman once again. He's brought him, in this case, a travel mug, I guess, right? For his antimatter.
Yep.
Travel mug's got a frog on it.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an endearing and weird, dorky thing that you see Michael Malley's character of the doorman be like, oh, boy.
It's so good. It was like
it's still subtle.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's one of those scenes you write and you're like, I have this idea. Like, we all had the idea in our head of how he'd play it, and then he did it exactly the way we hoped, and it's so funny. He's so good doing it, and his when he goes, oh, this guy's a jumper, you can tell his voice kind of goes up, and it's great. It's great.
We then see Janet and Michael and the judge. The judge is checking in. The stakes are very high. Janet's panicky. Michael's panicky. We find out the judge is super into NCIS and Mark Harmon.
Yeah.
But they get by with it. Like, they sneak her away from the ticker tapes and they get her out of the room.
They get away with it.
Yeah.
You're also in this episode, and you're wonderful in this episode.
Oh.
I really, really loved your performance. I feel like this is the most vile you've been so far.
It's getting darker,
in any
right?
of the seasons. Yeah, no, for sure.
I tell Glenn to straight up shut up. Shut up, Glenn.
I hope we release a supercut because every shut up, Glenn, you did was so funny. And Dean and I were cracking up every time. And I would love to see a supercut of Shut Up, Glenn.
Thank you. That's one of those things that as an improviser, especially, you're like, well, they got that. And they got it in the close-up.
Totally.
So I'm going to do it differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you put periods in it with shut up, Glenn.
Yes. The different versions of it were very impressive.
I would really genuinely love that.
Oh, yeah.
That would be my ringtone.
We gotta release that. Yeah. Shut up, Glenn.
Also, how adorable is Glenn? How adorable is Josh Siegel as
is
Glenn?
so good.
He's just so lovable. Even when he's like trying to suck up from inside the cocoon. That's one of my favorite things.
It's so funny.
Good one, boss, or whatever he says.
Yeah.
So Michael has succeeded. He got these 4 humans together. That was always the recipe in the previous 802 reboots towards getting them to work together and become better people. And everything is perfect until we hear this.
So, this is our MRI machine. Oh, don't touch that. Each of you will get a chance in here eventually. Hopefully none of you's claustrophobic.
Claustrophobic? Who would ever be scared of Santa Claus? Oh, the Jewish.
You from Florida?
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That should be fine for me. It's roughly the same size as Nicole Kidman's cryogenic anti-aging chamber, and I've never had a problem in there. So.
I'll be okay too. Kind of reminds me of the home tanning booth I lost my virginity in.
Wow, I cannot wait to take a look at these three brains.
Oh, forgot to mention, there's one more person who will be joining us. Seems like a really interesting guy. He was almost run over by a train a few months ago. Heard about the study, emailed me last night.
This doesn't make any sense. They're all there. What's going on? Oh, no.
What is it?
Something bad, Janet. Something very dark and evil.
Oh, yes, come on in. Everyone, this is Trevor.
Hey, guys. It is so great to meet you.
Claustrophobic, who could be scared of Santa? Who got fired for writing that joke?
I wrote it, and I very much so remember that Mike did not want to do
Yeah, I mean, it's
it.
one of those, it's like, it's right there.
I really loved it. I thought it was really clever and nuanced and funny.
Do you have a word for this? Do you have a category for this? It's on par with, like, we have to cheat off a Chidi. Oh, that's why his name is
Totally,
Chidi.
yeah.
Like, it's on that
yeah,
level.
it's on that level of stupid for Jason, where
Right.
it's like, wow, you're really just taking everything at like face value, man. You think like, but it's also one of those jokes. I think that sometimes in a tape, like people hear it and think maybe it's like edgier than it is. Like it's not actually it's just a joke about Jason being.
I thought it was very edgy.
I was so surprised. I remember writing it and I was like, Mike's gonna cut this, and I was so surprised that it's still in the episode.
It's right on the edge. It's right on the edge. It's a cousin of the restaurant puns for me.
In that you don't like
That I'm not sure how it makes me feel.
A second cousin.
Yes.
Okay.
Amram and I are here for you, man.
Though, and this is another dig at the American South, is that upon hearing that, Eleanor goes, "You from Florida?"
Yeah.
Like something about you says Florida. I'm from Arizona, so I kind of know.
Yeah. They're of the same. They get each other.
Of the ilk.
Yeah.
What's that?
Of the ilk.
Of the ilk.
Yeah.
So the thing that gets the four humans back together is Chidi's experiment. He decides to put together an experiment measuring the effects of near-death experiences on ethical decision-making. Did you meet with philosophers on this subject?
Yeah, kind of with all things that we explore in the show. We try to have some background in terms of a philosopher we talk to, a professor. You know, Todd May has been invaluable to the show. And so for this season, going into season 3, Mike kind of emailed all the writers. He said, I read this book, Moral Tribes, by Joshua Green, which is a really interesting, so much smarter than I am. A book written by a person so much smarter than I am that it was hard to understand, but I got through it. And he is a philosopher and a neuroscientist. And so he kind of, the character of Simone, you know, has some of that in there. We were interested in, okay, Chidi, it comes from, you know, a moral philosophy standpoint. What about someone who's a neuroscientist, who loves being a neuroscientist, who loves looking at the human brain and having really, like, you know, it's in the premiere when she's like, yeah, you guys ponder one question your whole careers.
Right.
Science is all about getting answers and moving on to the next thing. And so definitely that study kind of came from a mixture of us reading Moral Tribes, talking to Joshua Green, exploring that angle to things that we hadn't really before. And so that was kind of, and then also just the fact that morality, you know, it's such a, when you're discussing the concept of like death and that we know our lives are only so long, how does that affect how we treat other people? That's always been a part of the show. And so that kind of came to a head. It's like, oh, 4 people, they've had near-death experiences. How does that affect how they behave? And so that was kind of all rolled into what if it was a study?
Jameela, you've had lots of near-death experiences, tennis, that sort of thing. Why aren't you a better person?
I am not a better person
Right.
for it. I have had a couple of actual proper near-death experiences, but I found that they did make me more decisive, and I swear more.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
progressively with each one, I swear more and more and more. So
Give us an example.
of the swear words? No, you told me not to. You know, did we discuss this on air about the fact that I got chased by a swarm of bees in season 1 into traffic and I got hit by a car?
What
3
the
weeks.
fuck are you talking about? On this television show?
Yeah, while I was on season 1 of The Good Place, I again, this happens every time. I was like, I
Chidi
need
gets
to...
chased by bees.
Yeah, it was very triggering. It was very
Yes.
triggering for me to watch that.
But this wasn't on set.
This wasn't on set. No, don't worry. The insurance is covered.
Okay.
No, I again, exactly the same with the tennis thing. I was like, oh, I'm an actor now. I should be active and start exercising. And so I went for a run, which I hadn't ever done before.
Yeah.
I went for a run. I was thankfully dressed like a ninja, which
That raises more questions
as you
than
do
it
for
answers.
running.
Well, because there's some scary people in the evenings out on the streets in Los Angeles, and so I was
So
dressed.
you wear black and a
yeah,
mask.
I run with a big sword.
If you're running
and,
at night,
I,
wear full black. That's
yeah.
what they say.
Yeah, it's basically showing, like, I sort of had my tracksuit was done up kind of like Kenny. And I had gone for this jog to try and get, like, fit to be a strong actor. And I stopped at this traffic stop in La Cienega, which is six lanes of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 lanes on either side.
We know how
And-
6 breaks down.
All right. Soak my deck, Mark.
Soak my deck.
So I'm standing there, and as I'd been jogging through, there's a little tree on this little island, this traffic island, and I must have like touched one of the branches by accident with my head because I'm so tall. And as I'm standing there waiting for the light to change so I can cross, because my music is so loud, I don't hear anything, but this sort of dark cloud
Oh my God.
appears around me. And it takes me a second to process what it is, because you just don't expect in the middle of the street, in the middle of like a city, that you're going to have a swarm of bees. As soon as I realise, I start screaming, and they're all around me. And I don't know if they're trying to sting me. They must be, but I'm covered from head to toe, and I can just feel them just coming at my tracksuit.
Sure, yeah.
And so I just run into oncoming traffic.
Sure, yeah.
Which is how my first ever, when I broke my back, it was one bee chasing me. It wasn't even chasing me. I just saw a bee and ran into anyway.
Are you scared of bees?
Very
Is this
scared
like
of bees.
You have a phobia of
Yeah,
them?
no, I have a phobia
Well,
of
obviously
bees.
Did you
Yeah,
before?
clearly.
Why you do now?
Yeah, now
No,
we
and
get it.
so I ran into traffic, and thankfully it was light enough for someone to see that there's a woman with a cloud of bees around her running into the road, and they slowed the car down. So when the car hit me 2 years
Oh
ago,
my God.
it just hit me kind of coming to a halt. So it just knocked me over. But the bees didn't leave. They came down with me. I had to get back up, keep running all the way from Wilshire to 3rd, which is gets a very long way. These are the most persistent bees ever. And I'm running down 3rd, and I see lots of people standing outside smoking in a smoking area outside a nice bar.
Terrible
And I was just like, I swear, my brain just went, they don't care about their lives. So I ran at them with the bees. I ran at a crowd of people. There will be people who were there at that place who will remember the time
Well, they
that a
wouldn't
ninja ran at them covered in bees. And I got down on the ground, left these people probably being stung, and then crawled into a nearby juice bar, which is now a juice bar that I frequent.
I love you. You have too many of these stories.
Okay. My life is Final Destination.
Trevor.
Is anyone creepier than Adam Scott in this show?
I think what makes it so creepy is that it's low-key Adam Scott. He's not being creepy here, which makes it worse.
Yeah, he's being like dork Adam Scott,
Yeah.
which is
Hi,
like
guys.
really creepy to when
Yeah.
you know what's truly going on.
It's an interesting thing because it's we're reminded of this sort of sleeper faction of The Bad Place that
Yeah.
we'd sort of forgotten about. At
Yeah.
least I had. I'd read this script months ago and had forgotten that he's the cliffhanger of this.
Yeah.
Like we're about to see, we were kind of at that, okay, here we go thing. And then he walks in and, this is going to get difficult.
Yeah, it's good. I'm pretty satisfied with this as a cliffhanger because I think it is a good level, hopefully, that when you're watching the episode, you see you, Sean, be like, Michael pushed his luck, and that allowed him to see like, oh, Michael's going back down to earth. What have we got here?
Right.
And that's where Michael kind of screws himself. That allows you to be like, great, we'll send down one of our worst that we've got. And
Right.
that's, but I think it's far enough away that you kind of almost do forget. But then when it happens, you're like, oh, Of course that was going to happen. It's always weird with like twists like that. You don't want it to be so out of nowhere that it feels just random and not earned, but you don't want it to be so telegraphed that people are like, yeah, of course, I knew that was going to happen.
Right.
So because I think if it was you showing up, Sean, it would have been a little bit like, oh, of course, I knew that was going to happen.
Right, he was right on their heels.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that it hits a good middle ground of that.
Oh, it certainly does. It's shocking and it's scary. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens in this new timeline, and then you're like, oh, this is an instant thorn.
Yeah,
This is going to be so difficult.
And hopefully it's rewarding, too, I think, as a fan of the show, that you're like, whoa, I haven't seen Trevor in so many episodes. Like, it pays off in that way.
Also, that 1,000-yard stare smile that he does, even when he's being Loki, even if he's playing a nerd, I've never seen... And he looked into each of our eyes in every single take, and I froze from the inside out.
Yeah, it's so creepy. It's so good.
There's a wonderful theme running through this, which is that we are not alone. We are not in this alone. We need one another.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose that's been the theme for everything, but with these people beginning again as strangers on Earth, it feels heightened to me. Like, it feels like the teamwork aspect of it.
Yeah, there's a certain chemistry these four people have together, that there's something intangible about it, that when they get together, they make each other better and they work in a really specific way. And it's kind of like a very nice sentiment that I think, is even more heightened the fact that, they were in such different parts of the world and had to be brought together for this to work. But now...
Yeah. I think that's kind of why people are drawn to our show, because in a time where we are being constantly manipulated to separate and distrust each other and not work together, this message of like, with unity we would be able to to defeat
and with
evil.
Unity with people who are different than you are.
Exactly. People who are so different.
Yeah.
And people who are from another place, but also people who trigger you, people who are annoying. This encourages empathy, the exact opposite of what we're encouraged to think about in, the news or on social media.
Right.
And I think that there's clearly a hunger out there for that level of empathy that people look towards in our show.
Yeah, it's nice.
We are not in
Just
this
a joke
alone.
I wrote. No, sorry, I didn't mean to get so
beautiful.
serious.
Mark and I are crying.
We are not in this alone. All we have is one another. In a sense, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's on.
Jen Statsky, what's good?
Okay, this is a weird one.
Yeah.
I don't know why this
ready.
popped into my brain today. Kind of this great actress who's on our show, Darcy Carden.
Oh.
No, this is so weird. Zoe Saldana's husband, whose name I don't even know. If you can look it up if you want. This is why he's good. It's because I recently learned that Zoe Saldana's husband took her last name when they got married.
Oh.
And I think that is really cool and badass. And I was like, that rules. More
I like that.
I'm all about, I don't know if you know me, I'm all about smashing the patriarchy. You get it.
I get it. Yeah.
So, but that's cool, right?
It is.
Let's change it. We don't need to. There's a lot of women who don't take their husband's names. Great. Or, but why can't a man take a woman's last name?
Why can't he?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't Marco Perego take Zoe Saldana's last
Yes,
name?
that's his name. Great. Perfect. I hope, what if he listens? What if he's like a huge fan of our show?
Yeah.
He should come and guest.
He should.
Jameela Jamil, what's good?
Season 3 of The Good Place. The whole thing. The whole thing is good.
I'm
And
excited. Are you excited?
No, I'm genuinely, I cannot wait. This is my favourite season. This is where the writers know us the best. We know the writers the best. We know each other the best. This just felt honestly, I don't even feel afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to say it and put myself out there. This is like, it was just palpably, there was so much chemistry. It was so much fun to film. All of them have obviously been fun to film, but this was with no fear. It was just the best experience, and the writing is absurd. I bow down to all of the writers on the show, so I don't care if I sound like a kiss ass. It really is. It's the best. And spooning.
I'm having a memory of the season 3 wrap party from a month or so ago. Mike Schur got up and gave a nice toast and a thank you to the cast and crew and everyone involved in The Good Place. At the end of which he said, "See you next year." And I was standing next to David Miner, one of the executive producers and one of the partners at my management company. And Mike said, "See you next year." And I whipped around and said, "Oh." And he said, "That's not a pickup. That's not a pickup." And I said, "Sounded like." And he said, "We'll be fine. We'll be fine." So here's hoping. I can't wait for people to see season 3. This is an unusual half hour of American network television.
It's a weird one, and it gets progressively weirder. Definitely
so weird.
tops. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to sound like I've drank the Kool-Aid too much, but I think this season truly tops itself in weirdness.
Oh, it was so weird that I frequently wondered what's wrong with all of you. Like, frequently. It's brilliant. I love it so much.
This has been The Good Place, the podcast. I'm Marc Evan Jackson. Thank you for listening. Now go do something good.